Just before we start, thank you all for coming. My father, my parents are both considered survivors of the Holocaust. My father was arrested, escaped, and fled from Vienna to Hamburg. When I asked him what he was thinking, got on a boat and came to America. And he was drafted into the American Army and sent over to Europe to fight. Didn't make a lot of sense, but okay. And he was at the liberation of Dachau. Ironically, Naomi Weinberg's dad, who was the president of this town region, her father was a paratrooper. He was also at the liberation of Dachau. And as growing up as a kid, my father had the 7th Army book called Dachau, which is in the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. If you've been there, downstairs where the cattle car is, at the very bottom level, this book, every single page is in double plastic so nothing can happen to it. Unfortunately, you know, when you're a little kid, you put your name and your phone number on everything so nobody's going to have it. And this is only worth, to me, what my dad brought it home from the war. But unfortunately, during our Halloween snowstorm this year, we were without power for 5 days, and the basement got flooded, and this was in the basement. So I will pass it around if you'd like and take a look at it. It's a little disturbing. But it's the United States Army's version, not version, it was a colonel or lieutenant colonel from G2, from intelligence. And it was the OSX section of the 7th Army. And it tells the history of Dachau, and ironically, Rabbi, I didn't realize this, but we could have done a presentation just with the writings from this. So before we start, I'll pass it around. If you read with us, you read with us while you read. I apologize for the condition it's in, but we are on page 2. "15,000 children passed through the camp of prison from 1941 to 1945. 100 survived. One who did not was František Bas, born in 1930, deported to Terezin in 1942, murdered at Auschwitz in 1944. He left a poem. A little garden, fragrant and full of roses. The path is narrow and a little boy walks along it. A little boy, a sweet boy like that growing blossom. When the blossom comes to bloom, the little boy will be no more."
I've lived here in the ghetto for 1 year, here in Terezin, in the dark, hateful town now. Then you ask, why do I remember my house so dear? Can I love it more than I do now? Home. Why did they take me away? People die as easy as a feather, and when you die, it is forever. I want to be home again. The smell of sweet spring flowers. Before, when I used to live back home, it never seemed so dear and fair.
I never saw another butterfly, the last so richly bright yellow. Perhaps the sun's tears may sing, the dandelions
graves or signs or markers like those of their forefathers,
they pass on the road to Babi Yar.
There is peace in the woods north of Kiev. But ghosts haunt the valley. Restless souls of thousands of innocents roaming the ravine at Babi Yar.
There is
no evidence of the carnage, no witnesses to the pit and fire,
as thousands perish in the ravine at Babi Yar.
In the pristine forest north of Kiev, there is no peace for those who know what happened in the ravine at Babi Yar. We like the second reading. Departure platform and tribute. There's nothing so terrible as your smile at departure, as your downturned eyes, as your upturned frown, as your hair so unremarkably brown in which I drown.
Nothing so terrible
as these tears upon your
glancing
cheeks.
Oh, their intense listening.
Nor any sounds so wrenching as the pistons' hissings, as the brakes' maniacal screechings.
Nothing in all the universe so pallid as the eyes of the conductors, so alien beyond all beseeching.
If only I could foresee your return, negating the prophecies, bitching as engines. If only I could imagine something as lovely as the vision of your retracted hand, not vanishing forever. Third King.
The Jews who lived in the ghettos under the Nazi occupation showed their independence by leading an organized clandestine life. The teacher who taught the starving children was a free man. The nurse who secretly cared for the wounded, the ill, and the dying was a free woman. The rabbi who prayed, the disciple who studied, the father who gave his bread to his children, the children who risked their lives by leaving the ghetto at night in order to bring back to their parents a piece of bread or a few potatoes, the man who consoled his orphaned friend, the orphan who wept with a stranger for a stranger.
These were human beings filled with an unquenchable thirst for freedom and dignity. The young people who dreamed of armed insurrection, the lovers who, a moment before they were separated, talked about their bright future together. The insane who wrote poems, the chroniclers who wrote down the day's events by the light of their flickering candles. All of them were free in no sense of the word, though their prison walls seemed impassable and their executioners invincible.
It was the same even in the death camps. Defeated and downcast, overcome by fatigue and anguish, tormented and tortured day after day, hour after hour, even in their sleep, condemned to a slow but certain death, the prisoners nevertheless managed to carve out a patch of freedom for themselves. Every memory became a protest against the system. Every smile was a call to resist. Every human act turned into a struggle against the torturer's philosophy.
The executioner.
The executioner did not always triumph. Among his victims were some who placed freedom above what constituted their lives. Some managed to escape and alert the public in the free world. Others organized a solidarity movement within the inferno itself. One companion of mine in the camps gave the man next to him a spoonful of soup every day at work. Another would try to amuse us with stories. Yet another would urge us not to forget our names. One way, among many others, of saying no to the enemy, of showing that we were free, freer than the enemy.
Even in a climate of oppression, men are capable of inventing their own freedom, of creating their own ideal of sovereignty. What if they are a minority?
Even if only one free individual is left, he is proof that the dictator is powerless against freedom. But the free man is never alone. The dictator is alone. The free man is the one who, even in prison, gives to the other prisoners their thirst for memory.
For all those who confronted evil with love, honor, and courage, poetry can never be wholly ironic again, nor anything but something we sing, lacking the conviction to say that a great desecrating evil does not exist in the hearts of men, of a love everlasting.
Never shall I forget that night. The first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night. 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children whose bodies I saw turn into wreaths of smoke beneath the silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which had deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God himself. Never. From the book Night by Elie Wiesel.
The statistics of the Holocaust are numbing. Roma, Gypsies, disabled, gays, communists, and Jehovah's Witnesses were specifically targeted and decimated. Millions of others, including brave and righteous protesters, were killed. But Hitler's main focus was the final solution to the Jewish problem, genocide. He intended to kill every Jew and managed, usually with the support and enthusiastic participation of local populations, to kill 1 of every 3 Jews, 2 out of 3 of all European Jews. The most incomprehensible statistic of all is that 1/4 of the Jews killed were children under the age of 15. 1.5 million children, about 1 million of them Jews, were murdered.
Epitaph for a child of the Holocaust. I lived as best I could and then I died.
Be careful where you step, the grave is wide.
It is so very difficult to even begin to comprehend the enormity of the Holocaust. You know, statistics that Bruce just read about are one way in, but I think the more affecting and usually the more effective way for people to understand the Holocaust is one story at a time, one memory at a time. And so the cantor has chosen several readings based on true first-person accounts that he and I are going to perform for you. These were transformed into theater pieces, but they're based on true experiences and true stories of the Holocaust. I don't know what to tell you, but this is not a good place to be right now. Not for Jews, anyway. I'm scared for both of us, especially with everything that's been taken away from us already. But I've heard talk about worse things. Camps and ghettos out east. Maybe it's just talk. Maybe they're just trying to scare people like us. The communists, the Jews, the gypsies, and such. Well, it's worked. I'm scared. I know your people have been through things like this before and survived. that this is different. I feel it in my bones. We need to get out while we still can. Where? I've thought about that. Since America won't take us and Palestine is closed, I managed to get us 2 tickets to England. I had to get someone to promise me a job first, and in these times that was tough, but I did it. We have to go now before it's too late. I know you don't want to go without your parents. I don't want to go without mine either, but we only have 2 tickets. And if we don't take them, we'll get stuck here too. Maybe it isn't fair. Maybe they won't understand. Maybe they're as scared as we are and can't believe things will get worse than they already are. I'm hoping they'll understand. If we have a chance to get out, we have to take it. Please, please come with me. I don't want to leave you. But if I have to go alone, I will. Even if I regret it the rest of my life.
Images of black boots stepping over shards of broken glass. A man with a Nazi armband walks into a bakery where the word Jude is written on the window. Carl? Is that really you? How many years has it been? I almost mistook you for your father. You look so much like him. I suppose age has turned us all into our fathers. I always knew you'd follow in your father's footsteps and become a police officer, just as I'd become a baker like my father and his father before him. I'm a good baker, but I don't think my bread is as good as my father's. Good Germans don't buy my bread the way they bought his, even though the same Jewish blood ran through his veins as mine. You act so cold, Carl. Have I offended you in some way? You can't possibly believe all the lies people tell. Not you, who have broken bread at my table, who always treated me as an equal, like a German, not just a Jew. Yes, I know the times have changed, but why can't we still be friends? You're not one of those crazy people who runs through the streets, even if this isn't the same Germany our fathers knew. No pack of goose-stepping savages can come between me and you, or me and my country. Come, break bread with me. Let's talk about better times when we were boys, about the plans we made, how you and I, Gentile and Jew, we believed we could conquer the world together. Why should I pack my things? I fear no mobs, no matter how much glass they break, even if I don't understand why they hate me. Sometimes I do feel very small inside and very alone and miss my father's strength. I always admired my father. I love to watch his powerful hands knead the bread dough. I love to watch each loaf go into the oven and come out more than it was when it went in. Smell so full of life made me feel alive. I always thought you loved these things too. But now you come in here wearing the same black boots they wear, stepping over the shards of glass they have broken, telling me you need to take me and my family away for our protection? How can you expect me to lead the life my father and his father lived? Am I not the same good German I always was, my father was, and his father before him? If you say it's for my own safety, I'll go. Short train ride or long. If it was anybody other than you asking, I wouldn't go. How could a man that I've broken bread with betray me?
My landlord is convinced I'm a Jew. No matter how much I study being Christian, something always trips me up. I need to leave Germany, but Christian guards are savvy to every trick, grilling people like me to make sure we're really Christians. Each time I think I'm ready to take that test, I panic. I pray for guidance, not as a Christian, not even as a Jew, but as a desperate girl, having faith that God didn't mean for any of this to happen, and that He eventually will save me. I'm luckier than most in that I look German. On the street, people nod at me as if I were one of their own. This has kept my landlord in doubt. He fears that I might really be German after all, and to report me would get him in trouble. But I know he never stops watching, waiting for the moment when I will slip up. I hope to secure passage out of the country before this happens. Maybe he guesses this. I see in his eyes that he's made up his mind to talk to the authorities after all. So ready or not, I must test my Christian study, even though I'm not clear on all the details, or why we suffer so from original sin. The guards at each checkpoint will grill me, but they won't ask the same questions. And I wonder if I can keep up the front until I reach unoccupied France or England. I make up my mind to leave and study all night before I do, hoping what I memorize will be enough. Think about my landlord's face and how stunned it will look when he sees that I've gone. But after all, I'm only human. So the confusing details of my Christian study lull me into sleep. I wake when I hear pounding on the door and the harsh voice of the Gestapo calling for someone to open up. I hear my landlord's voice directing them to where I live. I feel trapped. Try to calm myself before opening my door. When I do, I notice how fooled the Gestapo look at my appearance. Sharp glances they give my landlord. The officers tell me they've heard I applied for an exit visa and they have a few questions before I leave. I'm so very tired. And I stumble over questions to which I already know the answers. My landlord says, see, what did I tell you? I'm all mixed up inside. Jew, Christian, German. I don't know what I am. The Gestapo tell me I must go to headquarters for further questioning. They say it's routine. I know it is not. And maybe I believed in being caught. No longer needing to live a lie as a Jew and a Christian. With a laugh, I think at least I'm rid of that snooping landlord. I no longer need to know all the details. I no longer need to worry about keeping up appearances. And the Gestapo assures me that I will be reunited with my parents at a camp they call Auschwitz.
Whispers are always here. I hear their voices even as I sweep, like dark spirits hovering over me saying, careful, careful, don't knock the bones. The guards with their black boots tell me to hurry or I might be next. If they hear the voices, they don't say so yet. They hear the bones rattle as the broom pushes them across the floor. The ovens are already dark, stained black with soot that never comes clean, even though I scrub and scrub. I fear the dark when the voices talk most, and when I can almost see the shapes kneeling on the ground like grotesque gargoyles begging guards for mercy. None of us ever expects them to grant. I think often of my last birthday before the soldiers came, and my mother making me a cake with 10 candles on it. Warsaw seems years ago, and I feel so old, as ancient as my grandmother, though I will see no candles this year, and I'm afraid to count. The guards for amusement sometimes ask me to count the bones, needing to make certain that all who walked in come out again. Bones piled high in the barrel I push. I don't know which one is my mother's or my father's. Once I dreamed of killing those who killed them. My nights are filled with revenge, my days never see. I cannot dream. Or maybe the dreams I do dream are so filled with the voices I know no longer have the ability to speak, and I see the shadows, daylight or night, of people who have already turned to dust. Once I believed someone might save me before my voice turned to whispers and my body turned to dust. But now I sweep and scrub and count the bones, waiting for my time when someone else will sweep me up.
always told me if I didn't eat right, I would turn to skin and bones. I always tried to make Mama happy, but I'm a leaf, so think I can see the bones through my flesh. We never have enough to eat. Some say I'm lucky to have survived our first coming to camp. Someone else says a German law prohibits the Nazis from killing anyone until we turn 18. But since when did German law protect a Jew? I saw them shoot many men, women, and children when we got off the cars. People they say weren't strong enough to work. They were shot. I must look strong. They let me live. But the men in uniform always yell at us, whipping us to do more, beating the women, even my mother. I don't know how to make them stop. I feel as if I failed Mama. Life wasn't easy in the ghetto before we came, but Mama seemed to worry less. And we didn't see the men in uniforms nearly as much as we were careful. In those days, all I had to do was to give Mama a hug to make her smile. Then one night I heard these terrible voices outside, people shouting, glass breaking, the smell of fire oozing under our door with the smoke. I heard someone moaning. I never saw Mama so scared. She tried to tell me she wasn't, but she shook. No hug or kiss could make her smile after that. When the men in uniforms pounded on our door and told us we had to leave with them, I got as scared as Mama was. We went right away so the Nazis didn't beat us the way they did others on the block. Mama clutched me, whispering the whole time that everything would be all right. I didn't believe her, and I liked hearing her say it. The ride to the train and the boxcars, to the camp, didn't seem as terrible as it really was, somehow. When we arrived, soldiers waited for us, picking and choosing which of us would go right and which of us would go left. Those that went left we never saw again. The soldiers yelled at the rest of us and pushed us into the old buildings that smelled like a factory. I was scared and hungry, and I didn't know at the time how much worse it would get. Mama looked pale and did not hug me, and I hugged her. She seemed to see something I could not see. She kept saying, "We're already dead." That scared me more, and I cried. And then a soldier hit me for crying. That made me stop. I learned quickly not to call attention to myself, to make myself invisible if possible. So day in and day out, I did my best to stay unseen. Maybe deep inside I never felt much more than a leaf anyway, through which anyone could see. I took comfort in Mama eventually calming down. Her quiet seemed as unnatural as her moaning had been. Then in the middle of a very cold night, Mama died. I woke to find her staring up at the bottom of the bunk above hers. I wailed so loud, everyone heard me throughout that camp. Soldiers came and they beat me and they told me to shut up or they would drag me out and have me shot. I was skin and bones. I asked them if they believed a leaf was worth a bullet. I might have just died then, but others pulled me aside. I moaned in their arms as if in my mama's. And now days and nights no longer matter. The cold doesn't matter, the beating and the hunger don't matter. Mama was right. I am more and more skin and bones. And I know that soon I will go to see her.
see the car waiting at the corner, and I panic, turning up my coat collar, hoping they won't see me inside. I'm an old man now, different from the man I was when I was young, but they won't care that I only followed orders. I slow my pace to avoid the headlights of another passing car. The store window is filled with naked mannequins, each face as pale as death, hovering over me as I hobble along the sidewalk. The car's reflection shows in the glass, and I wonder what these men think. And if it's possible for me to explain the mistake I made as a soldier, a mistake I have regretted my whole life since. I am a different man now. I was only following orders. My children would never understand or even believe what I did if they learned about it. I've kept my silence all these years since. Why do these shadows in this car want to ruin their lives just to get back at me? I still see their faces in my head and the lives of people walking inch by inch, step by step into that chamber, head shaven, body shorn of clothes, bars of soap clutched between their shivering fingers as they move through the door. Breathe deep, I tell them, then bolt the door when the last of them is in. I still hear the echo of their voices before the pellets drop, the nervous chatter before the air goes sour and they start to scream. It's always the same scene, though never the same faces, as if I am sentenced to have all 6 million faces pass through my mind before I can be free of them. Knowing that when they have all expired, their parade will start again for me from the first. Their screams, my screams, their pounding on the door echoed by the pounding of my heart, the scent of their burning bodies constant in my nostrils day and night. I'm halfway down the block when the car starts, headlights popping on like searchlights, locking me in its beam, growing brighter and more steady as the car grows near me. I clutch my cane. I cannot flee any more than the 6 million could, so I cringe and wait for the hands to grab me and yank me inside. I want to beg for mercy. I want to ask them for another chance. I pray and plead to these faces as the other faces did back then. But there is nobody to beg. Just the ghosts of the dead marching in their endless stream of striped shirts stripped from them before they are sentenced to death. The car goes by, leaving me in the shadow, but I am not relieved. There will always be another car, another moment, until they actually come. And down deep, I can't wait for it to happen. If only to relieve me from seeing the 6 million faces in my head.
Our service on page 7. To light candles to honor the dead and to provide a ray of hope for the future. Interspersed with the ancient Aramaic memorial prayer are the names of infamous locations where Jews were tortured and executed for no other crime than being Jewish. The total number we add is 18, which equals life in Jewish numerology. May morning lead us back to life.
As I chant the ancient Aramaic, please respond in unison in English. If you're lighting one of these candles,
Power to light a candle is a gift. We dare not take this or any of our rights or luxuries for granted. Rabbi Leo Beck wrote about his meetings with fellow inmates at Theresienstadt.
It was dangerous for us to be united. There was an additional danger as well. During the day, these men were involved in terrible, backbreaking work. And after such work, while they needed rest, they came together at night to listen to lessons and lectures, which could have weakened their bodies further.
I shall never forget those meetings. We would assemble in darkness. To light a candle there or even a match would have brought immediate disaster upon us. We spoke about matters of the spirit and eternal questions, about God, about Jews in the world, about the eternity of Israel.
In the midst of the darkness, I sensed light in the underground room, the light of Torah. More than once I could not see their faces, but I did see great spiritual light. They lit the way. We are the lives that were spared from the ashes. We are the lives that have sprung from the ashes.
We are the ones who will continue to speak of the Holocaust to the next generation, knowing that they will speak of it to their children when they in turn to the generations that follow.
That we may learn and know, prevent and protect,
that we
may
may
remember and honor
the lives
the
of
sacrifice.
Before our concluding prayer, I want to point out the candles that we lit this year are special Holocaust memorial candles. And they have some words of inspiration on them, but what makes them especially suitable for the Holocaust memorial is that the proceeds from the sale of these candles
souls of all our brothers and sisters in the house of Israel and among the nations of the earth who were slaughtered and burned. May their memory endure, inspire truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen.
We are having the service in advance of the formal Holocaust Memorial Day, which occurs this year on Thursday. And so, in a sense, we're at the vanguard of the holiday. We are beginning the commemoration and setting the mindset. And as the week progresses, as more and more people start to think of some of the memories that we've called to mind, it's as if our gathering here in a small way has paved the way. And as we gain in time and in wisdom between now and Thursday, I pray that we all be inspired to make the words of the memorial prayer come alive. May their memories truly be for a blessing. Let all who died not have died in vain. And that we will be inspired and ennobled. Let us be made bold in our fight against injustice and genocide everywhere. This week, whether you go online and look for the names of Holocaust survivors, the Washington, D.C. Holocaust Memorial website, whether you pursue more information about the Righteous Persons Foundation, or read a book or an article about the Holocaust, whether you just spend 5 minutes in prayer for the souls of those who were killed, whatever you do by way of preparation, may it be down to you as a blessing. May you be inspired. And may you be one of those lighters of the candles of 18 to really know and bring life into the world. Amen. Thank you for joining us tonight.